All right, my friends, are you feeling stuck in that dreaded intermediate pentatonic plateau? We all get stuck there at some point. It's just how much time do we want to waste there? All right. This is why we get stuck and ways to get out of it. If you have not hit subscribe, I would love for you to do that and the bell notification as I release more videos to help your guitar playing. I want to jump in here real quick. Make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to show you how to implement what it is that I'm saying in your guitar playing now to make your solos much, much better and break that plateau. Now, I've been helping hundreds of guitar players over the last 2 decades get past this very plateau. And there are some really specific reasons why we start getting stuck there and end up staying there, sometimes for years, sometimes for decades, sometimes for more than decades. The first thing is we can start sounding cool. All right, I'm starting to get somewhere. To play other people's solos, maybe other people's licks and mix them together. The thing is, I'm not really learning this scale. I'm just memorizing where those dots are on a diagram, and memorizing phrases. It's like going to another country and memorizing how to introduce yourself, right? How to order a drink, that kind of thing. I'm not actually learning the language, right? I'm not learning what I'm saying or what these notes mean or what the words mean if I was in another country. I'm just mimicking and memorizing. When we are listening to our favorite guitar players and their solos, they are conveying a message through the language of music, and the guitar is just the voice that they're speaking or singing that language through. If I don't know and I can't really recognize that as a language, right, it sort of just looks like, wait, they're just using the same scale that I am, this minor pentatonic. Why doesn't it sound the way that I am thinking of it in my head? When I go to another country, of course there's things that I would love to be able to say, but because I don't know the language, I just get stuck and I'm not able to creatively, speak the way that I would like to. When we're in that place, what generally happens is anytime we want to get into learning the theory or the language of music, that's all music theory is. It's just the language of music. I know that word can be kind of scary to some people. We end up falling back on, maybe if I just keep playing this scale up and down, something is going to click. There's going to be an aha moment, right? But there never really is. Right? So if you're learning this scale and you're playing it up and back and up and back and up and back and up and back, and you're sort of starting to improvise and it's just sounding very, right? You're not really getting anywhere with it. It's because you haven't actually learned the scale yet. You've just memorized, not learned, memorized where the dots are on the diagram. It's kind of like if I memorize something for a math test and then I take the test, I will forget it the next day. Right? Now, just like memorizing those phrases and going to another country, I'm not able to say it the way that I really want to, right? I just am trying to get past those syllables, really, right? It's going to come out really monotone. They definitely going to be able to tell that I'm not a native speaker of that language. And that's the same thing here. When somebody is right, playing and they have their own voice, right? Their own accents, their own dynamics, the way that they play that, right? If you give it to 100 guitar players, they're going to play that same lick differently. If you don't know what you're saying, you're not going to be able to say it with your own creative voice. And that becomes really, really important as well. Or noticing why somebody else is playing it a certain way, and that's what you like. And then you go back to sort of like the drawing board, and you're like, wait, why does mine sound that way? Why do my same exact notes not come out the way that I really, really want them to? And at that point, there's only so many phrases that you can memorize, right? So many licks that you can memorize to try and put together, and eventually you are going to run out. If I want to say something that's more than just an introduction or how to order a drink, I'm going to have to learn that language. Okay. I'm not going to be able to just like memorize a whole paragraph and say it, be able to say it the way that I want and communicate the way that I want. I'm going to have to learn this language if I want to improvise. If I want to sit down and actually play the way that I hear the solo in my head, right? And that is our main goal. Now, if you have some creative ways that you've broken out of that pentatonic box. I would love to hear them if you want to comment below. Or if this resonates, hit a like, and let's get some likes and comments going. If we think about it this way, if I take that first position of my minor pentatonic and I have to memorize it, it's not too difficult, right? It's not too difficult to memorize. But then I take my next position of the minor pentatonic, right? And then the next position, right? There are 5 positions of that minor pentatonic. If I'm just memorizing them, okay, that means I'm memorizing 5 different scales, but I could learn them. Then if I start learning the spelling behind this first position of the minor pentatonic, I start saying, oh man, that's the root note. The root note always sounds really settled at the end of a phrase, right? My flat 3, right, gives me a little bit of tension. Same with the flat 7. Root note sort of brings that tension back and all that stuff. If I learn that from the beginning, what I don't have to do is memorize those 5 positions of the minor pentatonic, then say, oh, I have a 1, a flat 3, a 4, a 5, a flat 7, a 1, flat 3, a 4, a 5, a flat 7, a 1, and a flat 3, and then take that concept and say, oh man, I gotta jam that now into this position of the minor pentatonic. And then I have to take that concept and jam it into this position of the minor pentatonic, and so on and so on. When that happens, we've taken a memorization, which takes a little bit longer anyway, right? And then another memorization of each one of those. It's like learning a scale 5 different times and then learning the music behind the scale 5 more times. And I've yet to start learning how to build phrases and communicate through that scale musically, and now I'm going to have to memorize all of this stuff and then learn how to use it, and then learn how to use it in each one of those positions. It is like learning that again 5 more times. I have a link for the spelling of the minor pentatonic scale in the description, as well as another video where I go a little bit more in depth with this kind of stuff. But I want to give you something right now that you can use. Let's look at that minor pentatonic. I have a 1, a flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. That's my spelling. And then the scale starts over again. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. And then it ends with a flat 3 there. My flat 3s and my flat 7s, you'll notice they're on either side of my root note. Root note, my 1, right? The flat 7 is the note before. The flat 3 is the note after. What that does is creates tension. It's close to the root note, our settled, our home base, but not close enough. And it gives us a little bit of an emotional spike. If I play a very simple lick, all right, I'm ending on that flat 3, the 5th fret. I'm in A minor, 5th fret of my G string. So if I can do that, I'm going to create a little bit of an emotional arc and then let it down by playing the root note. And that's what will settle it. Now we're creating an emotional spike and letting it down, right? I can do that all day. Now, if you're having a tough time with it, you can play the exact same lick. Let it settle so that tension sits there, right? We want to pause there. Playing the same exact thing and then resolving it on my root note, on my 1. You can do that wherever you want. All right, nice easy one. Right, I can do that all day long. Now I can make them a little bit longer, add some more, like we were saying. If you know what you're saying now, right? We're doing a call and response. We're asking a question. We're giving the answer. I can now go in and say it a little bit differently because I know what I'm saying. So I could. Okay, that first lick, right, is definitely different than the call. If I played them the same way, I'm not sure if I played them exactly the same way, but they were different licks. It was the first one to spike up, and then the next one to let down. Make sure while you're doing this, and like I said in the video below, I go a little bit more in detail, but mix up the rhythms, because now we have phrases, but we don't want the rhythms to just be like 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, and, right? We're gonna wanna mix things up. Longer notes, shorter notes. On the strong beats or on the weak beats in between and mixing them. I'm not really doing anything that is that difficult, right? Just going, starting on the 5th fret of my D string, 5, 7, G, 5, 7, doing a little bit of a bend, up, back, right? A half step, not even. I'm just kind of getting that little inflection in there, right? Almost up to that blues note, back down, and then the 5th fret there, and then a resolve. So the lick itself is not very complicated. But if I misplace the rhythm of some of those notes, it's going to be more interesting. Now that was a resolve, right? I can deliver a little bit of a tension. Cool, then let that sit. All right, I'm now moving. I can add a little bit more. This is a really great thing called framing, where I'm gonna take this, and because I don't want to go back to blah, 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 right? It doesn't really have anything conversationally to say. Let me just add a couple of words before that. Just adding a very simple, right, 5, 7, 5, 7 on the A string is now, I know where my lick is going to go, so I'm not getting lost before. What happens is we develop a vocabulary of very short phrases. Right, that's a little bit longer now. If I want to make it even longer than that, I sort of go back to this like blah, 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 blah. And then come to it, right? Rather than continuing the conversation or starting the phrase a little bit early. Again, I go into a lot more of that in the link below, but I wanted to give you something to start with. And then as you're doing that, right, tension, flat 3, flat 7, resolution. The 1, we can also start mixing. If you build that tension, you can just end a lick on a 4 or a 5, right? And what that's usually going to do is if you drive tension and then you land on a lick that's a 4 or a 5, it's almost like asking a question and then explaining why you're asking the question, right? And then if you add it after you release, right? And that tension is now released down here. It's sort of explaining from a place of like the emotional arc coming down or a resolve, right? So now you have like tension, neutral, and you're just keeping it up there, resolve, neutral, and you can play with that as much as you want. So really good ideas. And then if I finally decide to get into or move into the idea of, okay, well, it's A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A. That's the notes of the scale. That's another 5 things that I have to memorize and jam into the 5 positions of the pentatonic. Where if I just start with this first position and say, all right, let me just start maybe on these bottom 2 strings and start creating some phrases. Right? Ends on a flat 3. It's going to give me that little bit of tension. Ends on my root note. It's going to give me a little resolve. Maybe I can come up with a few ideas there just using these bottom 2 strings of my minor pentatonic. Once I start doing that, maybe I'll move to the bottom 3 strings. And I could do something like a little bit of tension. That was my flat 7. Resolve it with my root note. Oh, that's a 4. It's a little bit neutral. Right? Ooh, now I'm starting to string phrases together. I know where I am in the spelling of the scale, right? In my root, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, root or 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, root or 1, right? My flat 3, I know where I am. I can easily adapt this musical language to the spelling of that scale. So when I go up to this, now I know, oh, this next position of the pentatonic scale, the minor pentatonic, it's the same scale. It's just starting here, right? So now I have my flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. Oh, cool. I can create some of the same licks here. that I can in this position, it's not a different scale. Oh, interesting. Maybe. Oh, same with that position of the minor pentatonic. Now what starts to happen is the music, the language, the communication, the creativity that we have in this position, we can then learn this position, but learn it creatively. Now we're actually learning. We have something to attach it to, right? A language to attach it to, not just dots on a diagram, you know? If we do that, the amount of time that it takes to first to be able to create music in our first position of the minor pentatonic happens within days or within hours, right? If you're taking our mentorship program. Then bridging that all throughout the neck takes that first week. So we've been able to cut down all of that time because we're learning 3 different things simultaneously, which is actually helping us learn, not hindering. We're learning where we're supposed to put our fingers, right? The dots on a diagram, as I would say. We're also learning the spelling of that scale. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, right? But also learning what those notes mean melodically and harmonically to give us a little bit of a vocabulary to play the phrases that we want to play and sound the way that we want to sound. Now, when that happens, we start moving it, and we're not going to memorize another position of this minor pentatonic. We're just going to take all of that knowledge and just say, oh, it's the same notes. I'm just moving it around, right? Right? And just moving it all around the neck musically. And this is the way that we can unlock the fretboard. Now, the best part is when I look at modes, chord extensions, melodic minor, harmonic minor, wherever I decide to go from there, I know the language so I can continue to build off of that language. If I don't do that, it does very much look like I have to sit here, like we were sort of doing, like memorize position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4, position 5, the minor pentatonic. That's a lot. Then memorize the spelling of each one of those scales, because I'm not learning it as one whole scale. I'm learning it as 5 different scales almost, right? And then, oh man, that's really tiring. Oh, now I have to learn 7 different modes. That's gonna take me forever. Now I have to learn like what they mean musically in the spelling, right? Natural minor, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. What is that? Wow, what does that even mean? Where is that coming from? Why is it? Okay, now I have to learn chords, but not just major and minor. If I have, I don't even know. In F sharp 7, flat 9, sharp 11, and altered dominant. How am I going to use that? Right, to resolve it into the tonic. That seems like such a far concept, but it's not when we're learning the language and taking the steps to get there. If you are an intermediate guitar player stuck in that pentatonic plateau and you want to bridge the gap between your creative ideas and what you are able to play, comment pro below or go to the link below or in my bio and book a free call to see if you are the right fit for our 12-week Fretboard Fluency mentorship. Now, I would love for you to stick around, check out some of the other videos, hit a couple likes, hit a couple comments, right? Do the whole subscribe thing, and I will see you in the next video.